This past Sunday, September 7th, marked a year since the tragic passing of Mac Miller of a drug overdose. Authorities believe that Mac Miller died after snorting some oxycodone that was laced with fentanyl, which is why I'm making this video. According to the NBC News, that's the article that I read, federal prosecutors have charged a Hollywood Hills man that goes by the name of Cameron James Pettit with connection with the death of Mac Miller. So basically, they are charging him because he supplied Mac Miller with the so-called bogus painkillers that were laced with fentanyl. If you don't know, fentanyl is a very, very lethal synthetic drug. Okay, just a small amount could kill you. That is the drug that was found in Prince's system when they did an autopsy after his death. He had, in fact, died because of that as well. Now, I actually have a bit of a problem with the fact that the drug dealer is being charged. Now, listen, I think that anybody that is struggling with drug abuse, it's sad to watch. I've had family members back in the day that were addicted to crack and things like that. So it is a sad thing to watch when somebody that you love is struggling with an addiction. It becomes an illness. It is an illness. And it's just sad to watch. And as we can see, the opioid crisis has definitely taken over the United States. A lot of these white kids are out here ODing. They're taking drugs. They are just high on pills. Okay. But at the same time, I don't necessarily agree with the government, the federal prosecutors, deciding to charge this petty drug dealer with his death. Okay. They're charging him with supplying the drugs, but there are actually, I was looking at this article which said there are actually 20 states that have laws on the books saying that if a abuser dies because of something that you gave them, you can be charged with their death. And they don't use these laws very often, but they have decided to pull it out for Mac Miller. And I can't help but to wonder if it's because he's a white boy, because there's a ton of people out here, a famous white boy at that, I should say, because there's a ton of people out here dying from these drugs all the time, and they don't pull out these laws for them. So it does lead me to wonder that they're doing this because Mac Miller was a famous white boy who willingly abused drugs. Now, I haven't read anything saying that this Cameron guy knowingly gave him something that was laced with fentanyl. We don't know if he knew that they were laced with fentanyl. A lot of times, these drug dealers, they're getting them from a connect. They're getting them from somebody else. They don't necessarily know. All right, he might have just been the dude that just sold them, like petty, like when you sell weed. They just sell it. They don't necessarily know all the time if it's laced with something. I don't know. Okay, and I guess they're going to have to prove that because this man is looking up to 20 years behind bars if he is convicted for Mac Miller's OD, his death. And I just have to wonder how much responsibility lies on the drug abuser. Listen, we can't sit here and deny that Mac Miller was into it pretty heavy. This man was on drugs really, really heavy. Ariana Grande tried to help him. People tried to help him, but he was too far gone. He was willingly taking drugs, and that's a sad thing. But at the end of the day, he willingly took the drugs. I saw the text messages between him and this drug dealer guy. He wanted perks. He wanted them. He was desperate for drugs. So if you are a drug abuser, don't you assume some kind of risk anytime you snort something up your nose, shoot something in your arm, take a pill. I think that you assume some level of risk if you ingest an illegal, illicit drug. Now, fentanyl, again, is a deadly killer. And that's what killed him, okay? Because it was laced with fentanyl. And that's what the guy is actually charged with. He's charged with the fact that the drugs contained a lethal amount of fentanyl, or fentanyl in just period. Not the fact so much that he gave him an oxycodone or a perk or whatever he gave him. It's the fact that it was laced. It was counterfeit. So I guess it would have been okay if it was just drugs. The fact that they were laced with something he caught that charge for that. And this man will probably more than likely be convicted for it. All right. These laws are rarely used. I read something that said years ago, I think it was in 2014, there was a young girl who, her and her boyfriend were heroin abusers. All right. She went and got heroin for the both of them. She got some. They both shot up. Her boyfriend OD'd, and she caught a charge, and she has to spend 7 years behind. She's still currently behind bars because they charged her with his death. She became responsible for his death because they both knowingly, willingly shot up, but she went and got the drugs. Do you see that? It's a slippery slope to me. All right. Should a person that owns a liquor store be charged if I sell you some liquor and you go home and you drink that liquor and you go out in your car, you driving and you go kill yourself? Should I be charged with your death because I sold it to you? You willingly bought it. So, like I said, it's a slippery slope. And this is in no way me blaming Mac Miller for his own death. But at the same time, if you knowingly take drugs, you always assume the risk. It's a tragic thing that's happened to him, but I can't help but to see how the country is pulling out all the stops, because the opioid crisis is a mainly white people thing. It's a mainly white people crisis. And now they want to pull out all the stops, and they want to go all out. And like I said, and they're even saying, like, we want to send a message to the drug dealers. So you can send a message to them, but the truth of the matter is, if you lock this dude away for 20 years, he's going to just be replaced with another guy that's going to supply the drugs, because there's a supply and demand thing going on. There's a demand for the drugs, so there's going to be another dude to take his place. And then if another dude get arrested, they're going to take his place. It never stops. You got to go for the head honchos. You got to go to the top. All right, you got to go for the JP Morgan Chases, who had a freight. They had like a boatload of coke. They had bricks of coke coming into the country. And, that was a story for 5 minutes, and it went away. You need to look at those people, the big people, not these petty drug dealers, because they can be replaced very easily. It will never stop. It's the people that's making the drugs. Who's making fentanyl? Why is it even necessary? Who is making fentanyl? Why is it out here? Somebody's making this stuff. They're making the Percocets. They're making the oxycodone. They're making all of that stuff. So you can get rid of all the little drug dealers and you're still going to have a problem. But let's be clear. They're doing this and they want to send a message because Mac Miller, at the end of the day, was a white boy. All right. And he has become the face. He is one of the faces of the opioid crisis. All right. And I feel bad for anybody that's struggling with it, because at the end of the day, I think it's an illness, it's a sickness, it's something that requires help. But at the end of the day, though, Mac Miller knowingly and willingly took drugs. He wanted the drugs. And I just feel that as a drug abuser, you assume some responsibility. You assume the risk when you snort anything up your nose, shoot anything in your arm, because you don't know. You don't know what your reaction is going to be to that on that day. You don't know if your heart's going to stop. You don't know what's going to happen to you. All right. That's just my thoughts on it. What do you guys think? Do you think that the drug dealer should be charged in this case? Because I just have some mixed feelings about that. I don't necessarily know that's going to stop anything. And I don't necessarily think he should be charged with his death or even spend 20 years behind bars because of it. I don't know. That's just me, though. Let me know what you guys think, and like and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next video. See y'all next.